It's time for The Drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, it's time for The Drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on a Monday edition of The Drive with Q, coming at you inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM studios. As I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, mi hermano. Angel Martinez behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air. 2 hours to play with. We'll take up to 6 o'clock straight up on what has turned out to be a extremely busy 23rd of September, 2024, powered from our good friends over at ION TV, and of course brought to you by Play It Again Sports, and of course Zen Auto Concepts, located in Stuart, Florida. Also, want to remind everyone you can now also get the audio version of The Drive with Q on HSRN Radio, obviously the flagship station, our home, Coastal Sports Network, and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. So as always, don't forget the 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved in two-way sports talk. Bring something to the table. Jam-packed football Monday. It is indeed a man-up Monday. And because of now the new partnership with HSRN, our guy, Omar Bashir, used to do radio with him many years ago, is a big-time Dallas Cowboys fan. So I said, you know what? We'll get to the NFC East. Let's start off with the NFC East. The Giants actually got to win. Washington, Monday Night Football tonight. Eagles, if you want to call it a gut check win, so be it. We'll get into that. But you have to start with some really disappointing performances. And we'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll give the view from Vegas as well. Q's picks, Q's cuts as well. We'll do that in the 5-ish hour. We'll tell you how the lines kind of laid out for everyone. But as always, don't forget, Rich Q on Q, the YouTube channel. And, of course, Rich Q on Q on X, where you can catch a show along with SR 1029 and CSN Florida. How about this yesterday? How about this yesterday in the NFL? In a league that, let's just be honest, we'll put a bow on week 3. But right now, in a league that is just chock full of parity, folks, I can't figure out the league. You can't figure out the league. The odds makers can't figure out the league. The fan can't figure out the league. But we know a couple things. On Friday's show, we told you, desperate times call for desperate measures for a couple teams. Teams that needed to figure out a way to get a W. One of those teams was the Baltimore Ravens. And we actually liked them in that spot on the road against Dallas because of what transpired a week ago with the Cowboys and the Saints. And the Saints offense looked like the 1999 Rams last week, and they looked like the 76 Bucks yesterday against the Eagles. But in a game where the Dallas Cowboys had an opportunity to right the ship, in a game and an opportunity for the Dallas Cowboys to actually show up and play hard at home, in spite of Harbaugh's coaching blunders for the Baltimore Ravens, the Dallas Cowboys, the final score, 28-25, that's friggin' window dressing. This game was over at the half when the Cowboys were down 21-6, and then Baltimore tacks on a score in the third to go up 28-6. It's time. It's time right now, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, to just admit this cold, harsh reality. And it is a cold, harsh reality. This team will never win with Mike McCarthy as head coach and Dak Prescott as the quarterback. Now, granted, the run defense was atrocious yesterday. The secondary, a bunch of frauds and front runners All I hear about how great the secondary is and how you got these great linebackers and these guys can go out and sell out and make plays. And Parsons, here we go. He's a game changer. This guy wrecks games. You love that phrase, right? We love that phrase in football. The guy is a game wrecker. All right, he had a couple tackles yesterday. Did he really have a game wrecking performance? No. But when you look at the run defense, how the hell in the world do the Dallas Cowboys wake up on this Monday in late September, look themselves in the mirror and say, we can stop the run? We can stop the run. You gave up 274 yards on the Derrick Henry's turning back the clock. $152. The Baltimore Ravens were averaging 6.1 yards a scamper. A scamper. And we're going to sit here and we're going to try to sugarcoat it. It's not a good roster. It was really constructed. The run defense stinks. You got front runners left and right. And the quarterback's not that good. I'm sorry. I get it. You have to throw 51 times in a game that you're behind 22 points. And okay, you made a nice little comeback here and there. It doesn't matter. Baltimore should have put up 40. Lamar Jackson's 100% correct. Horrible. Get your head out of your ass. Keep scoring. Do not take your foot off the gas. They could have done, and Nelson Aguilar was making plays yesterday. The same Aguilar that couldn't catch a cold when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's blow it up, Dallas. Blow it up. You're 0-2 at home in a spot where you pretty much were dominating the NFL last year. Were you not? I mean, this team, you talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, which we'll do in the 5 o'clock hour. The Dallas Cowboys, I don't want to hear anything about the Dallas Cowboys anymore. I don't even care if the Dallas Cowboys wax my Giants 50-0 on Thursday. You're going nowhere. You're going nowhere fast. It's time. This quarterback will never lead this team. This defense is overrated. And then his coach is just in over his head. And you have these types of losses, man. And we talk about all these other head coaches. We talk about Brian Daboll and Nick Sirianni and Doug Peterson down there in Jacksonville and all these coaches on the hot seat. How about Mike McCarthy? I mean, honestly, how about Mike McCarthy? Folks, it took 3 games. 3 games. And now all of a sudden, Jerry Jones is probably thinking to himself, holy crap, do I have some buyer's remorse? It took 3 games to figure out bringing this clown back was a disaster. Unmitigated disaster. Listen, if you're Washington, the Eagles, and the Giants, you want Mike McCarthy for the next 15 to 20 years. But you've got an owner, you've got a season right now. Listen, and only the Dallas Cowboys can have a season unravel like this in spectacular fashion. Spectacular fashion. The Ravens, the Saints shredded them. Shredded them. The Ravens yesterday, it was almost like a mercy kill. That's how I looked at this game. The Ravens had 456 total yards on offense, despite the fact that they also threw 13 friggin' flags against Baltimore. Hello. They still absolutely went out and lambasted them. They lambasted them, and you can hear the beeps. I'm getting my Cowboys fans chiming in already. No, I'm not going to take it easy on you, you bunch of friggin' frauds. You kidding me? Nobody wants to hear from the Cowboys fans anymore. I'm enjoying it because they look like a bunch of dogs. All these stars giving bringing back Elliott and signing CD, barking at Dak Prescott, and I want the football, and Dak Prescott having to sling it 51 times because the secondary can't stop anyone. What a joke. Enough of the Cowboys nonsense. This team is cooked. They're done. I told you in the beginning of the year, they are not making the playoffs. I told you that. They are not making the playoffs. They should have blown it up last year. So you got the Dallas Cowboys on a short week now have to go to New York to take on the Giants, who, oh, by the way, how about the defensive effort by my Giants yesterday? Now, granted, but still, with that being said, on the road against Cleveland, and that quarterback, and I'm going to get to him in a second because you want to talk about a dog. Deshaun Watson stinks. This guy is an absolute what a joke and a clown this guy is. But the Giants get 8 sacks, and yet they muffed a punt to start the game. First play, boom, back in the end zone, touchdown for Cleveland. Here we go, 7-0. That's why I'm out there doing this. Got the game on the radio. Here it is. I don't want to deal with this nonsense. I don't want to watch this garbage. But then the resolve of Big Blue. When they lose, they're the Gents. They're the little Giants. When they win, they're Big Blue. The resolve of this team to fight back, to flat out fight back, and ultimately take the lead. They got bailed out by a bad pass interference call. I'll get to your comments in a second, guys. 727-858-6650. Love when you guys fire off early on in the show. Gets me a little juiced. We're ready to go. So you get the Giants running the football. Singletary's a nightmare. He just fumbles way too much. He fumbles way, way, way too much for my liking. And then they took the lead 21-7. Daniel Jones played well yesterday. Neighbors is a friggin' beast. And how about this? If you had the total and you were trying to play the over yesterday, it was 38.5. Giants are up 21-15. Singleton breaks one off right tackle and then takes a knee at the 1. And I know it drove Brandon Jacobs crazy because he's always about the touchdowns and the touches. But that prevented a lot of people from winning the bet if they had the over. But the Giants saved their season on the road against Cleveland. And that defensive effort reminded me of 2016, where offensively they were suspect, but yet the defense carried them. The defense carried them a little bit into the playoffs. Eli McAdoo, and of course, they lost to Green Bay Packers in the wild card. That was the boat trip. So I'll spend a little more time on Big Blue in a couple moments. So you got the Giants with a W, you got Dallas with an L, and then you got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles, who I specifically told you on Friday's show that it was going to be either we come on the air on Monday and say it's a gut check win, or this team is in the midst of a horror of a season. Now, I don't know where Eagles fans, I don't know where you guys are feeling today. I don't. I really don't, because I was stunned. And I went back and again, I watched the game in its entirety. Jalen Hurts is regressing. Nick Sirianni still has no clue what the hell he's doing, even when he calls plays, which we'll dissect in a moment. But you got to give a lot of credit to the Philadelphia Eagles' toughness, okay? Because they came out and they put a very good defensive game plan together. They put a really good defensive game plan together against a Saint team that I thought was going to be able to score some points. And that wasn't the case yesterday. It just wasn't the case. And I thought what they did is they held Carr in check, because we know he typically likes to check down. They didn't let Kamara go off. They didn't let the vertical passing game get to them. But offensively, look, I'm going to tell you right now what I think of this team as a whole. The Philadelphia Eagles yesterday got bailed out by Saquon Barkley. You know, Goddard had a couple big plays. Again, big plays. He had some real big plays. But Saquon Barkley is starting to bail out Jalen Hurts like Brian Westbrook used to bail out Donovan McNabb. I mean, you need a touchdown late, you give the ball to Westbrook. You get him out of the flat, you give the ball to Westbrook. You give that short little swing pass, you give the ball to Westbrook. Jalen Hurts has regressed, and it's amazing what happens when you lose a coordinator and you bring in another coordinator. And that's exactly, again, what they did this year. So you're kind of seeing it right now. Jalen Hurts' decision-making, the fumbles, the horrible interception. I mean, that was a horrible decision-making. I don't need Nick Sirianni to stand up there after the fact to say he's a winner. He's a winner. Come on, man. Stop. This quarterback is making horrible decisions. He is making horrible decisions. It's like his decision-making, he's going backwards. The turnovers are just backbreaking. Listen, I love the poise, and the kid tries to shake it off, but these are the types of decision-making, the turnovers, that you can ill afford from a franchise quarterback that's making what, 150, 160, whatever the hell it is, $200 million? It's a continuous trend, and it's not a good look right now. The clock, the internal clock, where is it? And all of a sudden, you have a good, strong defensive effort against this kid. He's in trouble. Misreads, not going through the progressions. He tried to force a pass to Devontae Smith that was in double coverage, and the Honey Badger picked him off easily. So all of a sudden, this kid's got Jalen Hurts has 4 picks, which is tied with rookie quarterback Caleb Williams and Bo Nix for third most in the NFL. Right now, he's on pace for 20-something picks, not to mention the loose fumbles. The turnovers are alarming. 26 in the last 21 games. You can't have that. I'm sorry. You cannot have that type of effort from your quarterback going forward, or this team's not going to win a lot of games. And the head coach, I mean, let's talk about the head coach for a minute. I feel as though I'm watching a guy on the sidelines that, I mean, it's almost like an epiphany. It's not sustainable to do things these way. No shit. I mean, seriously, welcome to the party, Nick. You're talking about fake, failed fake, what was it? The brotherly shove, the tush push, not going for field goals, trying to go for long field goals. You're putting so much pressure. Now you put pressure on your defense to go right back out there and get a 3 and out. You're going to put more pressure on your offense if you're chasing points. Sometimes you just don't overthink it. Take the points. That's it. Just take the points. They got bailed out. You had Saints players crashing into each other. They looked like the friggin' little Giants, the Bad News Bears. And then you had Saquon Barkley busting loose. And Saquon looks like he's going to have a monster year. 1,500, 1,600, 1,700 yards. But the Eagles won in spite of their head coach. In spite of their head coach. You're not going to win a lot of games when the quarterback's making poor decisions. And the head coach, again, what are you doing? And I'm not trying to nitpick, because you have to give the Eagles a ton of credit. You have to. You have to give them a ton of credit. Because, again, they won a game on the road that a lot of people thought they weren't going to win. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game. I didn't think the offense was going to be able to match the Saints' offense. I didn't think the Saints' offense was going to look that poor, but they did. But that's a tribute to the Eagles' defense. I mean, the defense got it, and Barkley bailed them out, and it was a sloppy effort. But that's the NFL. You're going to take the win. We want to call it a gut check win. You call it a gut check win. I don't know how the Eagles fan feels about that win today. I don't. You needed one. You were desperate for one. But, I mean, you take away a $147 from Saquon, this team loses. You know, Goddard, we said on Friday, he might have a game. I didn't see 10 of 170. You know, Smith got into the mix, even though he's knocked out, concussed. That's a cheap shot, which we'll get into as well. That's piss poor by the Saints. Can't play dirty like that. But they're going to win games in spite of their head coach. And you have the Dallas Cowboys that are consistently going to lose games because of their head coach. 727-858-6650. We're going to get to the comments on the other side. We're just cranking it up on a Monday edition of The Drive with Hugh coming at you right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, powered by our good friends over at ION TV, exclusively on Coastal Sports Network. We want to mention also, too, we've got so many different platforms, but we want to mention HSRN, Heritage Sports Radio Network. They go by HSRN. They're taking the audio of the show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 4 to 6. Glad to be working with Omar Bashir. He does a really good job with the historically black colleges and content, and I know he's probably just getting his feathers ruffled right now because he is a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. But, hey, man, I'm telling you, there was bad football across the NFL yesterday. There was some really bad football. You've got backup quarterbacks that are coming off the sofa, slinging it. You've got rookie quarterbacks that are about to get benched again. And the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to get to you guys in a second, because Miami, they need a quarterback. Tampa Bay, Bucs fans, you know who I'm talking to. You kind of came back down to earth a little bit. That's the NFL. And obviously, you still have the juggernauts, right? We saw Kansas City again get a little help from their friends last night, but they got the win on the road. Minnesota, a surprise. Pittsburgh's a surprise. Pittsburgh's going to be a player in this regard. They got a veteran quarterback who I believe needs to get traded. And I'll give you the definition of that and the destination on the other side. Just cranking up on a Monday edition of The Drive. 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. We will rip through your comments on the other side. Eagles fans, let me hear what you have to say. Dallas Cowboys fans, it's going to be a long ass season for you, and the Giants actually get a win. We will go around the league, the good, the bad, the ugly in the 5 o'clock hour. Also, Q's cuts. We'll look at the numbers from Vegas. Very good Sunday early for the Dogs, so we'll get into that as well at 5:25. Keep it locked in. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up on a Monday.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
727-858-6650, as Mumber Guy says. That'll get you involved in the conversation as well. 23 past the 4 o'clock hour on the East Coast, a Monday edition of The Drive with Q right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, Coastal Sports Network. Now we are also heard on audio-wise, HSRN, CSN, and 102.9, our flagship home, and that's where we stay inside the friendly confines on this Monday. Let me hear what you guys have to say out there. And by the way, let me say to add, and I'll get to the Dolphins and the Bucks, because I listen, man, you know, we're killing all these other teams, right? We're killing all these other teams, and you talk about a piss poor performance yesterday, not only by the Miami Dolphins, but also by the Bucks. All right, let me hear what you guys have to say. 727-858-6650. We'll rip through some of these comments on this Monday edition of The Drive. And let's see, Jerry in Rhode Island, let the poor dog in. Listen, you got a rookie quarterback punching Bucks in the face. First of all, the dog, it's typical. I mean, that dog's been walked 4 times. Look at this. This is what happens, right? The dog gets walked 4 times. The dog gets played with. And I'm trying to settle Kiki down, right? But sometimes she's got to know we have to have limits. We need boundaries. And I adore Kiki. You guys know that. I adore the dog. The dog's made appearances. The dog picked better games than I did over the last couple weeks. The dog knows what the hell she's doing. But the barking at times, Poppy's on the phone. Poppy's on the air. Daddy's on the phone. Just, sometimes it's just, por favor. GPG, you got rookie quarterback punching the Bucks in the face. I'm going to get to the Bucks, and I'm going to get to the Dolphins. Joe D on Facebook chiming in. Q, you're giving credit finally to Barkley. I agree. He used to bail out Hurts like Westbrook used to bail out McNabb. Yeah, I mean, obviously some people didn't take too kindly to that comment. It's just, it is what it is. Penguin AC, good afternoon. I'm on Q. Let's go. Go Pack, go. Mike McCarthy doing McCarthy things like he did last year's in Green Bay. Yes. Yeah, that was so the Packers, once they get Love back, the Packers are going to be a dangerous out going forward. And again, think about this. And I don't want to go all over the place, but the NFL fan will know where I'm going with this for a second. Explain to me how you can have some of these backups in the NFL come in and start the ball, right? And then you got a situation, let's just say in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson stinks. But Carolina, they bench Bryce Young. And I joked on Friday with Angel when we did our picks that I said there's no chance in hell that Carolina is going to win this game with the water pistol. What does Andy Dalton do yesterday? He just comes off the sofa. Probably eating a box of Cheez-Its, reads the playbook in like 5 minutes, and he promptly goes out and he lights up the Raiders for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, you want to talk about another coach who's on the hot seat? Antonio Pierce coming out basically saying guys are making business decisions. Now, a couple things. You don't come out and you say that. That's how you lose a locker room. And you come out and say that week 3, horrible look. 727-858-6650. The quarterbacking position in the NFL. Joey B, the drive with Q, looking swell, haircut, losing weight, looking sharp. Q, thank you. Trimmed it up a little bit, and yes, we are trying to slim down as well. Bourbon Street Boys, no longer, they changed their name. No longer the Bunker Boys. I guess they changed it to gloat a little bit today. Out of the bunker and on Bourbon Street now, celebrating a victory and looking at hotels down here for February. Wait, is it Super Bowl in New Orleans again? It is. Cuba, Kiki, a giant sweater. It's almost, we're almost at that time, right? By the way, did you guys know this? I didn't. Kiki barking background, Amazon packages there with the giant sweater. Did you guys know this? So for a while, I was walking her with a blue leash because of the Giants. And then every time somebody walked by, they would be like, "Oh, what's his name?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? She's not lifting a leg when she pees. It's a female pooch." And then they would tell me, "Well, you got to get pink." I mean, I mean, am I in the wrong here? I mean, did I have to, do I have to switch it up? No? Angel, do you want to chime in? Angel's not going to chime in during the show. Angel's doing what Marino used to do when he threw an interception. He'd go that way. We might not even get Angel today. There might not be audio. If there's, just pretend I'm not even here. Just talk over me. Go ahead. Let's see. Let's test it.
Hey, you said if I
there
were.
It is. Oh, by the way, there were a lot of text messages before I went on the air from Eagles fans, and they said, quote, "There better not be any effing technical difficulties today."
Okay, well, you can thank an Eagles fan if it comes out to be technical difficulties.
Well, more importantly, is it blue or pink? I mean, does it make a difference?
No, it doesn't. Or you just get a Giants leash and put a smidge of pink on there, and then people will know, like, "Oh, it's a girl. She's a Giants fan." I mean, you shouldn't have to. It doesn't make a difference, but because it is blue, technically, people will associate it because of a male, because of blue. It's
I guess I was being selfish in that regard.
No.
I probably was.
All I know is Kiki stole the show for the first 20 minutes. So I just want you know that as people were making their comments that she stole the show for 20 minutes. She wasn't bargaining for 20 minutes, but she stole the show because of everybody kept saying, let her out the cage, bring her out from the cage. Listen, I was telling folks she likes to bark at Amazon. So, and Joey B hit it. She was just waiting for her giant sweater.
I mean, here's the new one, right? This is the new one. So this one, I got a PetSmart, right? So what happens with this now, I realize this is how I think I'm doing right by the pooch. So bear with me. We'll get back to the NFL in a second. But what I realized or didn't realize, when she grabs on this sucker and she's running, sometimes it catches in her paw and she trips and she falls. So we might have to just throw that 727-858-6650. We'll get back to some of your comments as well. A couple guys on Facebook chiming in. Kevin in North Jersey. Q, did you watch that debacle yesterday by the Giants offensively? I don't know what the hell was going on in the second half. First half, they played smooth. Second half, they tried so hard to give the game away. That's the NFL. Think about these games yesterday. Did anyone in their pool have the Saints and the Eagles scoring under 20 points? Like, think each team, right? Did anyone have Carolina putting a 30-something? I mean, this is the NFL. Minnesota's 3-0, slinging Sammy Darnold, MVP candidate right now, slinging it all over the place. I mentioned to you Tampa and the Miami Dolphins. Now, and I said this going into the break, if you are the Miami Dolphins and you are staring down the barrel of a horror season, because two things. The next time the Dolphin fan complains or they bitch about Tua, look what you have out there now. You've got nothing. If I'm the Miami Dolphins today, I turn around, I call up the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know he's dealing with a little bit of a calf injury, but you need to get a viable option in there right now. And I call them up and I offer them a 5th-round draft pick for Russell Wilson. A fifth, because Tua, even when he comes back, he's one hit away. Miami Dolphins have the offensive pieces to score some points, but they can't do it with an inept quarterback. They just can't. And I feel bad for the Dolphins fans. They put up 10 points. What was it? They put up 10 points in that Thursday night game, right? And we're like, all right, here we go. They put up 3 points yesterday against Seattle. I mean, listen, you go through Tim Boyle, Skylar Thompson. I mean, it sounds like you should be one of those young kids in one of those teenage musicals, right? Got to put your hands together for Skylar Thompson. Q, Cowboys, Giants, and Middleland just got more interesting. It did. Thursday night, I think the Giants will be competitive. I don't like them to win the game, though. I can tell you that right now on a Monday. But if you're the Miami Dolphins, can you make a call and get a viable option so we don't have to watch this nonsense anymore? 3 points against Seattle. 3 points against, Geno Smith, who had another two bad picks. I mean, Miami can't run the football. They've got no passing attack. Make a call for one of those quarterbacks. Make a call for one of the NFL. The quarterbacking play in the NFL is just, it leaves a lot to be desired. It really does. Look what's going on in Indianapolis. Indianapolis is getting ready to bench Anthony Richardson and go to Joe Cool. Right? Carolina benches Young. And they won a game yesterday with Andy Dalton. If you're Miami, make the call, man, because it's going to get out of hand pretty fast. It really is. You've got nothing to lose at this point. I put up Miami's schedule. Tennessee and the Pats and the Colts are all winnable games. Now, if they can weather the storm and get to 5-2, 4-2 before they play the Cardinals, you sign up for it. You sign up for it, but you need a quarterback now to save your season. Like, pride be damned. Feelings be damned. Enough is enough. It's nonsense. Go out and make the call, man. I'm so tired of these head coaches. They're so afraid to hurt feelings because a guy was on the practice squad or the guy practices hard and he earned the right to be there. The NFL is about winning games, period. Period. That's why Bryce Young got benched. That's probably why Richardson's going to get benched. Deshaun Watson might get benched. He might. Who can you see over an NFL line easy? Bryce Young or ain't? Ooh, man. I mean, Joey B just, I mean, that's an unsolicited attack. I didn't know we were going that way, by the way. That's an unsolicited attack.
Yeah.
On you. I mean, you might want to, before you heckle or have someone troll or heckle you, you might want to scrub through the comment. Unnecessary.
Okay. It is, but that's all right. I'm pretty sure I can see that line easier than the Bryce Young can. But no, you're absolutely right.
Well, you probably can now because Bryce Young's ass is on the sideline, so he's sitting on the bench.
But why in the world? Why aren't they reaching out to him? The Dolphins out to Carolina.
You mean Pittsburgh? You mean Pittsburgh for Russell Wilson?
Oh
no, not Bryce Young. And I thought about this, even though we talked a little bit about him Friday. They can't give up on that kid just yet.
But they are.
Yeah, well, for the moment. But they if they decide to move on from him, then yeah, the kid's going to get traded, right? Because you got to think about the value in return. But I thought about this a little more, and he is still the number 1 draft pick from 2023. Now, you probably sit there and say, what the hell does that make when you just said it's all about wins and losses? We're talking another coaching regime, different type of offense. We know about the ownership group. They're a bunch of jerks. I mean, they're just clowns. They have no idea how to run a friggin' franchise. They sold off some pieces. They traded some players. They're obviously in a rebuild. You do want to see if this kid can play. Now, I think the kid's going to have a lot of problems translating into a successful NFL coach because coaching does matter. Okay? Coaching matters in the NFL. Look what's going on with Houston and Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, right? And then there's other quarterbacks that are struggling. But you draft this kid number 1, Angel, and you're saying, hey, he's the face of the franchise. And it's okay that it's a miss. Okay? But they're going to probably want to die with their boots on. You know, I would say the worst case for this kid's confidence is you keep throwing him out there and he struggles. But sometimes a franchise is going to do that because in a sick, twisted way, it's almost as though saying, yeah, we made the mistake. Now we have to show we made the mistake, as opposed to we have to be this staunch defender of said quarterback, and we're going to defend him, and we're going to defend him. Mara did it with Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones played well yesterday. He played well yesterday. He was extremely efficient yesterday. But if I have to keep throwing it in your face that I drafted Angel Martinez number 1 overall, and Angel Martinez is struggling in a twisted way, some owners, and I don't put it past Carolina, keep throwing the kid out there so we can make a point. It was a horrible decision, even though we know whose decision it was. The old regime wanted CJ Stroud. And as twisted as it sounds, sometimes this is how some of these owners think. You know what? If he struggles, hey, we told you so. Or showcase him a little bit and trade him. But I don't think you flat out get rid of him. I don't. Right? The knock, here we go. The knock right away. Alabama quarterbacks, Penn State running backs. That's always been the knock. That's always been a knock. Look at these Penn State running backs can't stay healthy. Look at these Alabama quarterbacks. They can't play. You know, I had a guy on Facebook for years. Every time I tried to defend Jalen Hurts, he'd be like, go back in college. And the guy can't read off. He doesn't understand progressions. He makes poor throws. So maybe I was blinded by the fact that he was a quote gamer. But now I'm starting to see like Jalen Hurts for who he is. Like Jalen Hurts is a talented quarterback, but he's also an enigma. He's also extremely sporadic and inconsistent. And I also think Jalen Hurts misses his old offensive coordinator in Steichen. And I think that speaks volumes, again, to how these coaching staffs are constructed. So to your point, going back, if we can for a second, going back to what's going on with Miami, I pick up the phone right now and try to make a trade for Russell Wilson. Hell, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, go ahead. I mean, crazy as it sounds, you got Mac Jones, who's what, in Jacksonville now? Behind
True.
Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, they need a quarterback. At least Zach Wilson has games under his belt. He's got games under his belt. He's got that. I don't want to say he's a veteran in the league, but if you look at Zach Wilson, you say, okay, the guy started a handful of games, and that's what you're looking for right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm Miami, I'm calling Pittsburgh. I'm calling Denver. You know, I'm figuring out a way to get one of these guys, and that leads me now to Tampa Bay because, you know, that's. I'm watching Tampa yesterday, and I'm watching highlights of that game, and I was absolutely just disgusted. I mean, we're sitting here talking. All we're doing is talking up Tampa Bay on Friday's show. That's all I heard. Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay. At home, you score 7 points. You give up 26 to Bo Nix. What was Baker's line yesterday? See, you got the bad Baker yesterday. 25. Baker Mayfield should not be thrown at 33 times, and I know they had to out of necessity. Oh my God, 33 times for $163 and one pick? That's bad Baker. That's a bad loss, man. That's an ugly loss. But this is the NFL. Look at San Francisco, right? I can only imagine, Joey. I can only imagine. I'll leave it at that. Look at San Francisco. How the hell did the 49ers lose that game yesterday? That game was won. They lost it because of poor coaching, special teams, and you had critical drops. And that's usually how you lose in the NFL. I mean, again, Giants yesterday, opening kickoff, fumbled. They're down 7-0, but they were able to respond. But when you have coaches that are making poor decisions, you know, you have a bad drop or a fumble, changes the whole complexion of a game. We saw that yesterday in San Francisco. Now, I think the 49ers, when they're at full strength, they will be fine. I still think they'll be okay. And Vikings got good news back. No structural damage to the knee of Sam Darnold, who, again, coaching matters. Coaching matters. Sam Darnold was with the Jets, saw a ghost. Then he bounced around, had a cup of coffee with Carolina, had a couple of rushing TDs, saw a ghost. Then he went to San Francisco. Let me be a backup. Let me learn. Let me get some reps in. Improved. Then all of a sudden, signs with Minnesota. And I would tell you right now, you know, the two quarterbacks, and one of them I mentioned on Back Your Play, and I mentioned on the drive as well. Justin Fields. I told you guys this in August. Justin Fields, this is even before we knew Russell Wilson had the calf injury. I told you Justin Fields was going to be a week 1 starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Fields is playing really good football. As long as they keep winning, even if it's ugly, he's going to continue to start. Sam Darnold is playing the best football of his career right now. And I don't think anyone had that in their pools. I really don't. I really don't believe that. Matty G in Delaware chiming in. Q, great to hear you on HSRN. Remember you back in the day on 1290 The Ticket. And it certainly is a Man Up Monday. When are you going to man up to some of your lousy takes on Friday? Ha, ha, ha. Enjoying the show. Great to hear you back on the air. My picks were, let's just say, sketchy. Once again, it's been a very bad stretch. And as far as, you know, the manning up on a Monday, I mean, you know, the Eagles, got to give them credit. Carolina, got to give them credit. I'll man up on that. I won't man up on Miami in college football because I told you they were going to wax. What was it, South Florida? They waxed them. I know we talked a little bit about a couple of these other games as well, the college football games with some of the lines, but I'll go through the spreads. in the 5 o'clock hour. I want to get on the other side, the good, the bad, and the ugly of week 3. And remember, too, we got a double dip tonight. I don't know how you guys are feeling with 2 games on a Monday night. You got Jacksonville on the road getting 4.5. That'll probably close 4.5, 5 against Buffalo. And then you have, again, desperate team Cincinnati, who I think waxes Washington tonight. They are laying 7. So we'll do that, plus your comments as well. 727-858-6650. We'll take a timeout. We will reset the table. We'll come back. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up on a Monday edition of The Drive with Q right here on SR 1029 FM The Game.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at RichQ on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right, fast approaching the 5 o'clock hour. Boy, I miss Bumper Man. 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. Jerry, Rhode Island, you can always just get the same officiating the Chiefs are getting and be a better quarterback. Yeah, you know, I hate looking at some of the officiating in the NFL, but it's bad, man. It's bad. I mean, first of all, so you go back to that game last night. I feel as though the Chiefs, well, I don't feel, I think we kind of know, they're the Chiefs. So they're always going to get the benefit of the call. Even going back to the Super Bowl runs, you can go back to the Super Bowl against the Eagles and the Bradbury. And Patrick Mahomes looked pedestrian. And has anyone else noticed Travis Kelce looks like he's a shot fighter? He looks like he's done. I don't know if he's got, T-Swizzle on his mind. I don't know if it's because of all the Netflix stuff. I don't know if it's about traveling the globe and the world. First of all, Travis Kelce balls out when his head is shaved and he has a beard. Not when he's grown the hair and he's got the Fu Manchu. It doesn't work. Go back to what got you there. Remember Ricky Vaughn in Major League 2, right?
Yep.
he was afraid to throw the fastball, so he had a name for it. What was it? The Eliminator. And the one slugger called it. He goes, "Hey, well, you might as well change it to the Masturbator," right? The Eliminator. And then all of a sudden, you had to get the Wild Thing. He went back, shaved the head, right? Went to the side and went to the sleeves, and then he was cooking. He was throwing 98. Now Serrano was too busy being a peaceful man, but when Serrano got back to being nasty, that's when he started to hit home runs for Cleveland. Point being is Travis Kelce needs to get rid of the friggin' Fu Manchu, grow the beard, and become that nasty football player again, because he looks like a shot friggin' fighter. He looks so disinterested and miserable. Maybe he misses his baby. I don't know.
Now, the problem is, see, there's certain things, and there was a lot of conversation off when I was done with my show, and I was listening to what was happening on the surrounding world. But the problem is that you're kind of somewhat in the ballpark with T Swift, because you don't involve, everybody knows politics, music, politics, actors, the whole 9 yards. And because now, and let's just suppose it, she took hers down because she endorsed a person, and then she blamed it on AI, saying the AI did it. But you're associated with T Swift. T Swift decides to do this, and now Travis is getting the same heat because guilty by association. So he should.
Wait, because of that, he's dropping footballs now, and he can't run friggin' routes.
Well, listen, when you go through a bad breakup, some of these guys, right in the NFL, when they go through a bad breakup, what ends up happening is their game turns to crap.
Suck it up, man. Life happens. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Get over it. You know how you fix that broken heart? You go to Scores. Get over it. Move on. Flip the pigeons. Make it rain.
By the way, let me go back here. Joey B says, agree 100% Q. Last night's refs putting a flag away on the pass interference by KC at the end. What a joke. Even Collinsworth questioned the call 2 times. And then it says, Travis Kelce looks like a guy who makes more money off the field than playing 80% of what he really can do.
Yeah, and I can't blame him for that. Then retire if you're not all in. That's, again, if you're not all in, you had a great career. You're a Hall of Famer. If you won Super Bowls, you're an All-Pro. You're dating the most famous artist in the world, whether people think it's fake or not. It doesn't matter. You're traveling all over the world. You can do movies. You can act. You got the podcast. If you had a bad night, you had a bad night. The problem is this isn't a bad night. This has been a bad stretch. And what happens is, you're supposed to be the veteran, one of the leaders of the team, right? The offense is still supposed to be centered around you to some extent. And Pacheco's banged up. They want to air it out a little more. They want to get it in your hands. You got to be that guy. You got to be all in, man. It's like the debate we had with Tom Brady, right? Is it Tom Brady, you still want to be quarterback? Do you still want to play in the NFL, or do you want to broadcast? You can't be a little pregnant, man. You got to be all in.
Okay,
right?
What is that?
Yeah, it means you can't be a little pregnant. You are either pregnant or you're not.
Okay. Well, just because Greeny apparently said it this morning on Get Up, and I'm trying to figure out I looked it up and it said.
Listen, I've been saying that. I've been using that phrase for years on the air. I don't want to hear about Greeny. I mean, did Greeny have a friggin' opinion, or did he hedge his opinion too? Well, Jacksonville's probably going to lose tonight, but I think they can keep it close. No, stop. I don't want to hear that nonsense. I don't. Can't be a little pregnant. It's just, I get. Is it an idiom?
I think.
Actually, someone said you can't be half pregnant, but see, no.
Correct.
That basically means you have to fully listen. You have to be fully committed. Right?
Right.
Think about it. Remember the great scene from Wedding Crashers? Right? With the ass out hug. Do I go in? Do I want to play a little dangerous game? I won't say it on the air because sometimes we have younger people listening, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
You can't be a little pregnant. You're either flipping the pigeons, you're all in, you're parking the car in the driveway, okay? Or you're parking in the street. And I'll leave it at that. All in. That's it. That's it.
Hey, listen. I'll leave it at that as well. I have no clue, but
I mean, we can keep going through these phrases. In for a penny, in for a pound. Do you want to keep going?
Sure, why not?
I'm just saying. You have to listen. They're a flawed team right now. They're 3-0, but they're flawed. Out of all the undefeated teams right now in the NFL, and there's a handful of them, which shows, again, the parity, right? Buffalo, we'll have to use them right now because they're 2-0. Pittsburgh's 3-0. Minnesota's 3-0. and Seattle's 3-0, and Kansas City's undefeated. Kansas City's, even though they're flawed, they're legit. Now, out of those other teams I mentioned, does Seattle scare you more than, say, Minnesota? Is Minnesota more of a legit team at 3-0, or Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Seattle? Let's do that. Which team is really legit right now after 3 weeks? Pittsburgh, Seattle, or Minnesota? Because again, those are surprising teams, right? They're part of the good. And then we'll get into the bad and the ugly. So those 3 teams are undefeated, 3-0 respectively.
I'm thinking Minnesota. I mean, Steelers are right there, don't get me wrong, but I think Minnesota, given the fact, look how the season started with their, number one QB going down, and somehow or another, they've still been able to hang in there, even with Justin Jefferson being banged up. They found a way to win.
Yeah, I think because Sam Darnold's playing at such a high level. So I would definitely say Minnesota. I haven't watched Seattle a ton, to be honest. I've never, Geno Smith, good for him, but Geno Smith eventually is going to break a Seattle Seahawks fan. They're scoring points, which is pretty impressive. They beat up on they played Denver to open up the season, right? So you got a rookie quarterback on the road. They played the Patriots, and the Patriots played them tough, but I'm not a big fan of the Patriots. You know that. And then they beat up on the Dolphins without Tua. But then you look at Pittsburgh, and I think everyone's waiting for, if I can use another phrase, the other shoe to drop.
We haven't heard that one before.
You never heard that one either?
Of course I have.
Oh, I was going to say the other, but hold on. We're saying the other shoe to drop. Like, when was it in the air? So the other shoe to drop with Justin Fields.
Well, it's the same way. Like, look at that. They won by the skin of their teeth. When the hell do you have skin on your teeth? No one brings that one up, do they?
No, getting out of hand real fast. Well, we call it a driveway when you're parking it. So I would go Minnesota. I would say Pittsburgh, because I'm more confident, believe it or not, that Fields will not do anything out of the ordinary, but he won't do anything to just totally ruin a game. And then I've got Seattle. I want to get to a couple Eagles points real quick, and I want to get your thoughts on this, you being an Eagles fan. Kevin C. on Facebook chiming in. Q, loving the show as always. Excellent monologue on the NFC East, parity in its greatest form this year in the NFL. You mentioned Sirianni and some of the miscues, and you also mentioned that Saquon Barkley was bailing out Jalen Hurts in a sloppy offense. You also made a nice comment on Dallas Goedert. I didn't think he was going to have a big game from the tight end position. Do you think they're going to factor him more going forward if Smith's going to be out for an extended period of time? And also, yes, this is a team that's winning in spite of their head coach. All right, you're an Eagles fan. So you watched that game yesterday, right? Okay. You watched that game. Do you walk away from that game having more confidence that this season could be something of substance for the Philadelphia Eagles? Or do you walk away from the game and say, well, you know what? The defense played well, but the quarterback was making bad mistakes, and I still don't trust the head coach.
I don't trust him at all. That was a cute win. That was about it. It was a cute win. They went from, the only difference was they went from the My Pillow coverage with Mike Lindell back to somewhat of some sort of coverage yesterday. The defense hung in there all game long. I'll give them that much. They did the best they possibly could, even with the injuries that went down. But I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with what happened. And then you got Carter, who decides he wants to yip, yap on the sideline. And once again, the appearance by Big Dom, because he's got to get in the camera like, oh, calm down. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. I'm an Eagles fan. You guys know it. This team, I'm not impressed. I'm not. Nick Sirianni can still go. But, whether the Philly faithful back in Philly are all up in arms, like, oh, we're won again, yay. I really don't care. I honestly, God, one of my honest opinion, until he proves otherwise, maybe Vic Fangio dusted off something where he made the defense work. But for me, no, I'm not impressed at all, period, of what happened yesterday.
How about the quarterback?
So what part did you understand when I said I'm not impressed?
Well, we're talking about ISU. Whoa! Don't deflect on me. I'm just saying. I'm saying you're talking about Sirianni. So, I mean, listen. You had Saints players running into each other like the bad news bear. Saquon Barkley bailed him out. All right, let me rephrase that. Let me
wait.
Hold on. Let me the two youths. Let me. I had a suit. You've seen it. Let me rephrase it for you. Do you believe Jalen Hurts is regressing? And if so, do you also believe it's like cause and effect because of the play calling, because he's trying to do too much, or also because it's a new offensive coordinator?
No, because I think he's still trying to do too much. And if you're going to be in line with your new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, I would think that he's experienced enough to make the proper calls in order to make this team work. But to me, it's still the disconnect between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. So if you're just taking it out on your OC because you two can't be on the same sheet of music, and now you decided you just want to make your own play calling, change it up at the line. I mean, you're not Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was kind of one of the brilliant geniuses that knew at times, he didn't do it all the time, but he knew at times when he can do it. Tom Brady used to do it at the right time. Even he would go against whatever Belichick said, but do it at the right time. I still don't see Jalen Hurts of 2 seasons ago. I don't see Jalen Hurts because, again, it still pans out, and I know people hate to hear it, still pans out from last season. I just don't see where Jalen Hurts is on the same sheet of music with the rest of the O-line. I'm surprised, truthfully, that we haven't, while they're coming down to Tampa, and he can use the hurricane that he's not coming down here on the same team playing in case they get bumpity bump up in the air. He might, take the Trailways or, the train or something else.
You're worse than a woman. Let it go because he didn't get on the friggin' plane in Seattle. If you should be pissed off at the secondary late in that game where Drew Lock slung it.
Do you know what I mean?
You're more concerned that the guy didn't get on a friggin' charter last year with the team?
No, that's just where he left his soul at. Pretty much at this point, because Jim, I
think you are being uberly, ridiculously critical. Listen, the quarterback has to play better.
Okay, hold on. Fast forward. What happens if they blow it in Tampa? Then what? And then am I uberly ridiculous?
What are you talking? If they blow it in Tampa, if they lose a friggin' game, who cares? Who cares if they lose the game? Tampa's not a bad team. Tampa should bounce back. But what I'm saying is if this team is 3-5, 3-6, and Jalen Hurts continues to make the mistakes, then you've got a series. It's trending that way, Angel, is my point. But you're not going to bench him. Is this more about the quarterback or the coach right now? Like, I'm trying to understand where this just venom is coming from.
Well, the coach, number one, Nick Sirianni I know the old saying is he hasn't lost complete control of the locker room, but I want to say he's about 30% there, in my opinion, is that he does not have the confidence enough to me as a head coach. He's worried about too many other stupid little things than worried about what he's supposed to be doing on the field. I think with him and Jalen Hurts, people can say whatever they want to. If your quarterback is not on the same sheet of music as your head coach and he starts making bumblefuck plays because he wants to, I'm just calling the way it is.
Hold your thought. 5:00 straight up on the East Coast, SR 102.9 FM, The Game, Coastal Sports Network, Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez, not the incredible shrinking hermano, but Mas Grande on this Monday. So a couple things that you bring up, very good points. You sound like a fan that believes yesterday is a precursor to things to come, to what you saw last year when they were 10-1 and then they had that slide. That's if I were to kind of deduce, remember what was it? The Departed, right? We have 2 dead bodies here. If I were to take that away right now, right? That's what I would, you boys from Providence, that's what I would take away from you right now. So you believe all of a sudden this team is about to just hit the skids, right? I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, their problem is they're digging themselves in these holes, right? Correct. And the Sirianni's play calling, I mean, he relinquished duties and in turn kept his role as head coach. So his sole responsibility on the field is a simple one: manage the fucking game.
Correct.
It's like, I feel as though he can't even do that, right?
And that's where my venom is coming from.
Right, because you're slow out of the gate against the Packers, right? And then all of a sudden, you opted against an early 3-point cushion, which was critical late.
Right.
You get the win. Defensively, you had the lap. Same thing occurred against the Falcons. And then yesterday, explain this to me. He's trying to go for fake, fourth down, but yet we're not going to give me field goals again. Like, just take the points.
Yep.
I know everyone who's watching this is saying the analytics, the analytics, the analytics. I get analytics as much as anyone, especially when I do the gambling pod. I get it. I understand the numbers and the analytics. And for the most part, I agree with you guys. But case in point, 4th and 1 from the New Orleans 15, and it's a 3-0 game. And you have an opportunity to go into take the points. Build upon that, because you came right out, or after the first quarter, you came right out and you gave it up on downs again. I mean, think about that. You gave it up again on downs. Then you had the block punt. They were lucky. Even though they dominated stat-wise, they were lucky they weren't down 17-0 in this game. And then again, a 7-6. You got a reliable kicker. So on 4th and 11, you're going to line up for a 60-yarder, but you're not going to kick a 30-something yarder. And that's across the league. Harbaugh was making questionable decisions. Dable was making questionable decisions. There was questionable decisions in the Chicago game, questionable decisions in the Chicago game, Carolina game, Raiders game, pardon me, by Antonio Pierce. These head coaches consistently outthink themselves. Now, where I won't even give you pushback on this. And I haven't even checked. And I don't know if you have it in front of you. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would suspect that right now, even though the Eagles are on the road, I bet you they're probably a 2.5 point road favorite against Tampa Bay.
Probably.
Well, it's recency bias. The Saints put up all this offense in 2 weeks, and the Eagles shut them down defensively, and Tampa Bay got waxed yesterday. It's recency bias. So 2.5 point, I mean, you want to grab that game right now? You confident on the Eagles on the road? Baker Mayfield did not play well. And if you get that same defensive effort yesterday from Philly on Sunday against Tampa Bay, then I don't see how Tampa Bay is going to score a lot of points. It's just offensively, where's his team at? Okay, the play on Smith, we can all agree, was a cheap shot.
Yep.
It's just the NFL has to step in, and you got to figure out, blow the whistle dead. You can't run through the play.
Correct.
Okay, because that can really, you get some real bad trauma, and that's pretty much it, man. Barkley bailed him out. You had the corners, the DBs run into each other. Goddard got free, made the big play. You got him in the offense. Johnson's banged up. You might not have Smith. Remember now, if these guys are in concussion protocol Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, plus to travel, so they might not be available. So now it's going to fall on number 26 again, who's playing lights out, and it's going to fall on the quarterback. For the head coach to stand up there afterwards, well, this guy just wins. He's poised. He just wins. What are we doing? Hold yourself accountable. Like, talk about some of the failed fourth down, the decisions. I mean,
and that's, you bring up, it's a lot of awesome points and you bring up Q, because it's the same way. What is it?
Yeah.
I don't want to go off too much, but my whole thing is, what is it with Sirianni? Like, he's got this, I swear he's got to go home and play Xbox. I'm like, look what I did on fourth down. Anybody can do anything on Xbox on fourth down, but what is this infatuation just all of a sudden? And even there was, sprinkled last season as well, but take the points. I don't understand why in the world you're trying to make nothing.
You know why? Because when Nick Sirianni broke into the league with the Eagles, was he not an aggressive head coach?
He was.
Okay. So we can sit as we have with any coach. You have to be true to your, like, perfect example, Dan Campbell. Everyone goes back to the fourth down play last year in the NFC Championship. It was a great call. It was the right call. It was just poorly executed. That wide receiver shouldn't have been the first option for the Lions. He just shouldn't have been the first option. And he dropped an easy catch. So in one breath, we love when the coach is aggressive. I think Brady, who I feel is getting very comfortable into his role, when they were talking yesterday, him and Burkhardt during the Cowboys game, the Cowboys and the Ravens, and I don't know if anyone else picked up on this. Years ago, oh man, the guy's lining up for a 50-yarder. These guys kick 50-yarders like what the kid from Dallas had, a 65-yarder yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like belting 35, 40 home runs, 50 home runs in a season. If you hit 50, oh my God, if you hit 30, Larry Sheets in 1988, if you hit 40, that's an incredible, it's the norm right now. Kickers kick. So we know that there are some teams, i.e. Dallas, Baltimore, and the Eagles, they've got friggin' legs, man. Those guys can friggin' kick. They're all pro, maybe Hall of Fames, whatever. Tucker, definitely, okay? Dallas Cowboys kicker, very good. Elliott, we know about his leg. We've seen it. I've seen it firsthand against the Giants, 60-plus yarder. So sometimes they say, we know we got the kicker. We know they can kick these field goals, but I'm an aggressive guy, man. 4th and 3, I believe my team can go and get 3 yards. I'm all for that. So I don't want to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth right now.
Right.
But I am also of the belief that you also have to understand situational football. And sometimes you have to throw the analytics out the window, meaning if my offense is struggling, okay, but I know my defense has been lights out, maybe I do want to take the points. And I know someone said, well, wait a second. If you don't get it, rely on your defense to get a 3 and out. Yeah. Maybe I want momentum. Maybe I want to take those early 3 on the road. Okay. If my quarterback is making poor decisions, maybe I don't want the ball in his hands in 4th down. Or if the play calling is a little shaky, maybe I'm not going to throw it to a running back out of the flat who I know doesn't have good hands, i.e. Saquon Barkley. Maybe I'm not going to do it. Guess one guy, because kickers now in college are kicking 58 yards. Look at the guy from USF, Nico Gramatica. By the way, is he related to Martin Gramatica? Is that his kid?
Yippers. I believe. I'm almost certain it is his kid, but it might be his uncle. We were trying to figure that one out. But yes, he is.
Make sure the kid doesn't. Yeah, make sure he doesn't jump up in the air and celebrate, because Martin Gramatica did that when he kicked for Tampa and tore his knee up against the Giants. So let's just settle down with the with the celebration. Right, kickers kick, but my point is down in distance, man. Like if it's 4th and 1 and you're on the other side of the 50 and you want to set the tone early, you got to pick up a yard, man. Like, let me punch in the mouth and pick up a yard. When you got number 26 back there, give him the friggin' ball.
Yep.
But there's also cases where I go back to Denver, first year with Russell Wilson, opening night, Sunday Night Football. Nathaniel Hackett took the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands on 4th and 3, and they elected to kick a long field goal. Like, that set the tone for their whole season. Brian Daboll 2 years ago. Let's go for 2 on the road against Tennessee and get the win. That set the tone for their whole season. I believe that Nick Sirianni right now, I think he's overthinking, Angel. I think, to your point, I think he's overthinking. I don't know mentally where his head's at, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we see he's an immature guy. He's an immature head coach. He is. He wants to run up and down the sidelines and this and that. And like I said, when you're winning, that's fine. But again, man, he's like this right now.
Right.
Right. I mean, he's the guy at the blackjack table or the craps. He's chasing his losses. It's exactly what he's doing. I lost on 1 o'clock. I got to chase on 4 o'clock. I got to double down now for the 8 o'clock kickoff. I mean, if you don't see it, you're not being honest to yourself. I mean, think about this. The 60-yard field goal attempt was probably your best example. You had 2 opportunities to kick. Okay. You didn't send Jake Elliott out for either one. So you're at the 15 and the 34. So now you're talking about kicks that would have been 17-17, liberal arts math, 32 and 51. He's going to nail him. You're indoors in a dome. turf, perfect conditions. Bank it 6 points. Bank it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to run a counter off the tush push, which you and I snuffed out. We saw. Okay. And then what was the other? And that would have tied the game at 3, by the way, into the half. So now all of a sudden you got some momentum. The second, I think it was 4th and 3, same score. And then Jalen Hurts was sacked. They got pressure off the line. So again, in a game like yesterday where offense is non-existent, you take the points. You have to understand the feel of the game and not overthink it. Now, if this is who he's going to be, then he best be it for the rest of his coaching career, whether it's another 13, 14 games, another 5 years, or another game or 2. Like, you have to stick with your convictions. And sometimes it's going to bite you in the ass, and sometimes it's not. Like, I'm torn because to me, there are a lot of times where, like, Tom Coughlin was not the most aggressive coach with the Giants. But sometimes you hear the roar of the crowd, and here we go, get in, send him out, get off, send him out there, 4th and 3, try to pick it up. Now you're coaching on emotion. You're coaching on emotion. Maybe Sirianni is trying to tell people, I believe in my offense in this situation. I believe in my quarterback, but it just hasn't worked out thus far. And it's starting to trend again to the same direction that it was last year. Let me get to a couple comments real quick. Cole in Florida chimes in. Q, you're talking about Miami needing to pick up the phone. Hell, I don't care if it's Russ Wilson. I don't care if it's Zach Wilson. They need to bring in someone right now. Thompson is banged up. Hell, they can give a call to Joe Flacco. He's on the couch there in Indianapolis. But they might bench Richardson. So what do you think? They got to bring in somebody. They have to. They have to bring the Miami Dolphins, if they're going to salvage their season right now, they have to bring in another quarterback. 16 past the 5 o'clock hour. We'll open up again, 727-858-6650. I will give you my thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll get a view from Vegas as well on the lines. We'll take up to 6. We'll open it up, 727-858-6650. A Monday edition of The Drive with Q rolls along.
Eye on Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
727-858-6650. That'll get you involved. Welcome back. 20 past 5 o'clock hour, a Monday edition of The Drive right here inside the friendly confines of Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We are powered by our good friends from Coastal Sports Network, CSN Florida. Eye on TV for all the late-breaking news, traffic, and weather reports. Also brought to you by Play It Again Sports, Zen Auto Concepts, Acorn to Oak as well. Hey, by the way, want to give a shout-out. You guys checking us out on Rumble. Greatly appreciate that. You guys are locked in and engaged. Thank you very much. We're also on HSRN, but this is our home right here, the flagship station for The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones, Angel Martinez. Let me get to a couple more comments. William chiming in from Dallas. All right, there we go on Facebook, attacking me on Facebook. Q, I'm tired of you crushing Dak Prescott year after year. All he does is put up solid numbers. He wins when he's relatively healthy. Dallas is going to win 12 to 13 games. I understand your hatred for the head coach, but lay off the quarterback. And by the way, your Giants still suck. I always love how they come back to the Giants. Still, real quick, here's one for you. So the Giants yesterday, the total for the Giants, now mind you, they won 21 to 15. So the total was 38.5. So Singletary breaks it off tackle late, but had the presence of mind to do what bettors can stand. He got down, milked the clock. Remember years ago, Westbrook did it for the Eagles and everyone was going nuts. Well, it was the right. See, people, and I'll argue with this with Brandon this week because Brandon's a running back. Get your touches, right? Because touches mean yards. Yards mean touchdowns. Touchdowns mean incentives. Incentives mean what? Money in your pocket come, when you're redoing the contract or if you're trying to hit your goals. So I know where B's coming from, right? But if you were better yesterday, you talk about a bad beat. Oh, that is as brutal. If you took the over and you're cheering, you're going nuts, you're thinking to yourself, it is a done deal, and then boom. Now, here's a little view from the numbers right from Vegas. So the favorites, 26-18, SU with 2 pick'ems, Minnesota, Giants, Rams, and Arizona. The dogs yesterday, fantastic if you went with the underdogs, 24-19-1, 55% clip. The road teams, 23-22. Now, this is where I get a little giddy. The afternoon games, the favorites, 3-2. You had the upsets. The Rams were +6, so they went outright 27-24 over the 49ers. The Panthers were +6, and they wax the Raiders by 14, 36-22 behind not 1, not 2, but 3. Little spritzers from the BB gun from the Red Rifle. Road teams 3-2. Overs 3-2. They haven't been hitting as much, but the road dogs and the road teams have been phenomenal early on. So if you go back early Sunday games, if you played 7 and you took the dogs, you were 5-2. And the Giants led the way. Giants +6.5, Broncos +6, Packers. The Packers were getting 3. I mean, think about that. The Packers were getting 3 against the Titans. The Eagles, 2.5 on the road against the Saints. They got bailed out late, right? And then the Vikings +2 versus the Texans. We actually liked Minnesota in that game. And the road teams are 4-3. As far as the picks, 2-3 again. 2-3. I don't know what to tell you. The 2 that I'm giving you, I'm actually giving you outright winners. That's the one thing that's nauseating. I'm trying to give you outright winners. And the other 3, we didn't touch the Giant game. The Eagles and the Saint game was not part of Q's picks. Okay? They weren't. So we go back, and I have it right here. If we go back and we look at those games yesterday, Colts, we gave you the Colts outright at home because I don't trust Williams. We like the Vikings, but I had the Chargers. That's another team. When do we start looking at that quarterback for the Chargers, right? We had Tampa, and then remember we had, Oh, we had Kansas City because we teased Kansas City and Dallas as combined. So obviously we screwed the pooch on that one. So we tried to give you 2 outright, which we did, which is not bad. But besides that, not very good picks. We need a Kiki Picks dog segment. Well, she's all about the dogs. Maybe what I'll do is, that's not a bad idea. Maybe what I'll do is, first of all, I can't even put it down on paper because she freaking eats everything. I don't get it. Like, leave it alone. It doesn't matter. If I were to put the football on the rug right now, she'd gnaw at the football. Maybe I'll try that for Friday. Maybe we'll just, if I can, yeah, I might have to physically have her paw. Maybe just try to take, maybe I'll do the treats, right? And I'll say, which one do you think? And whatever one she sniffs, maybe that'll be the winner, which will really be bad because if she starts hitting at a 75% clip, I might be out of a gig. 26 past the 5 o'clock hour. Monday Night Football tonight. You've got, are these games sexy to you guys for Monday Night Football? Jacksonville at Buffalo. Now, here's the thing. So let's say you went 2-3 or 3-2. And let's say you went 3-2, 4-2, and you're up a couple units. Tonight is your perfect example, is what we talked about with the teasers and closing them, right? Open-ended. If you open with Kansas City, you've got your choice right now. Buffalo at home against a very desperate Jacksonville team. That's option number 1. So we hit Kansas City. Let's just say you hit Kansas City. Now you got to close it. Buffalo, because they're sitting at 5, you'll pretty much get the point. All you're asking Buffalo to do is win the game against a desperate 0-2 Jacksonville team. Or a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels on the road against a desperate 0-2 Cincinnati team. Which again, if you close it out and bookend it, you're just asking Cincinnati to win the game. My confidence level would be in Cincinnati because I think Jacksonville is going to actually keep the game close. I think Cincinnati takes out a little bit of their frustration against Washington tonight. And Trevor Lawrence, he just has not played well, right? Trevor Lawrence hasn't played well. Is tonight going to be the night? I don't know. Is Ingram? I don't know. Is Ingram questionable? I think, is Ingram out? I'd have to double check. I think Jacksonville gives you an honest effort tonight, and they try to keep it relatively close. But I think Cincinnati wins this game by at least 10. I do. Washington got lucky against the Giants, man. If the Giants actually had an active kicker to the roster, they scored 18 points. Where Jaden Daniels will be a problem because he's very tough to get down. He scrambles a lot. Again, he makes a lot of plays. By the way, I wanted to get, I don't know if you pulled it up earlier, that third comment by Bourbon Street Boys with the Kelsey calling the coverages for yeah. I guess Kelsey was calling the coverages for Jalen. Can Jurgens do that? Jalen looks confused 70% of the time and is not successful on those plays. I don't know if that can be coached up. It's a very good comment because you got a quarterback that's making the same mistakes. And then you start to get into the conversation. Can he read defenses? Is he having a problem, right? Not reading defenses. And if that's the case, then that's going to be a problem going forward for the Philadelphia Eagles because you need your quarterback at this stage of his career with the money he's making. You got to be able to read. You have to be able to read defenses. Now, his completion percentage is pretty good through 3 games. It's 70%. That's not bad. Randall Cunningham had 73% back in 1992. So that's second highest ever through the first 3 games. Okay. But I don't want Jalen Hurts throwing the football 35 times a game. I don't.
Right.
Their offense is not they're not balanced like that. You need to find all these teams in the NFL. I don't care who you're a fan of. Every fan will have the conversation with his buddies at the bar, and it'll be the same. We need balance. You ever hear that? We got to have a balanced attack. Okay. With balance comes your identity. So if you go back and look at all these great teams, the Steelers in the 70s, they ran the friggin' football and they played defense. The 49ers in the 80s, their identity was their air attack. It was Montana, Rice, Taylor, Solomon, Roger Craig. It's their offense, that West Coast offense. The Bears, identity, defense. The Giants in the early 80s, defense, running the football. All these teams, like, what's your identity? Who are you? Like, when push comes to shove, what do you hang your hat on? What do you hang your hat on? Now, yesterday, the Eagles hung their hat on two things that you need to do in the NFL to be successful, to win football games. You have to run the football and you got to play defense. And that's what they did yesterday. The one thing with Saquon Barkley, and maybe they will start to become that run first type of team. As much as I've gotten on Saquon, when healthy, and I have no problem saying this because it's the truth. When Saquon is healthy and you give him that offensive line, there's a reason he's already had, well over, close to 400 yards rushing. He's on pace for 1,900 yards. Like, what's their identity? Are the Eagles going to be this, we're going to cram it down your throat, right? We're going to keep pounding the rock, and then we're hoping that number 26 breaks one. So what happened yesterday? I mean, yesterday is the perfect case study in trying to figure out what the hell the identity of this team is. It was a low-scoring game. The Saints' offense never got on track. The Eagles had a couple miscues, but they stuck with the run. They stuck with the run. They stuck with it. They stuck with it. Even if it was for minimal gains. Even if it was just for minimal gains, that's okay. And you go to that drive, and I'm going to give them the credit right now. They will be our week 3 Zen Auto Concepts drive of the game. This is a 12-7 game right now after the Saints scored. So the Eagles are down 5. There's about 2 and some change left. 1st and 10, 31-yard line. You pick up 5. Dotson makes a play. 2nd and 5 from the 36. You lose yardage. You got to go back. 1st and 10. Actually, you get the penalty. You get the flag. 1st and 10 from the 41. You get sacked. 2nd and 16. Timeout. Shotgun. Here we go. Incomplete pass. 3rd and 16 was the monster play. Saints DBs kind of collided with each other. Boom. You get Dallas Goedert. 1st and goal. Timeout. Here we go. Run it. Barkley. Ball game. So, and prior to that, how they scored that first touchdown, again, what did they do? You had a 2nd and 4. So a quick little 6-yard slant, Smith. You get a 1st and 10, Smith again. So now I'm throwing. Now I'm going to set up the run. 2nd and 5, Barkley. I mean, pretty much up the gut, 65-yard to the house. But that led into, again, that was a progression of trying to run the football a little bit. And I'm not saying do it 35 times, because even when they had that block punt, they still ran it on that previous drive when they turned it over on downs and they were down 3-0. So if you figure out your identity, that's half the battle. That's half the battle. Some of these teams in the NFL, we don't know their identity. And that's why some of these teams are struggling. If the Giants go back to defense and they play like they played yesterday, albeit Deshaun Watson is not good. I mean, this is, for the money that he's being paid and every cent is guaranteed, it will not shock or floor me if they decide to bench him and go to Jameis Winston. It will not shock. He just looks the Giants sacked him 8 times yesterday. I mean, he had one good throw. And that was the first play from scrimmage. After the Giants botched the opening kickoff, because that's what the friggin' Giants do, because their special teams has been a horror show for 20 years. But Watson had one play. That's all it was. One throw he made yesterday. That's it. That's all I can give him credit for. One friggin' throw. And it was a really nice throw, by the way. It was a really nice throw to get him on the board early. But other than that, he's not good. I mean, he is not a good quarterback. He isn't. And I don't know what in the world, like, what they were thinking when they gave him all that money. So the Giants defensively, if they can play like that for a couple more weeks and get their defense going, and Burns and Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence, they might win a couple games. Their identity might be their defense this year. It might be. The Eagles, their identity might be their rushing attack with Saquon Barkley. Like, you just got to figure out what your identity is. And if you can figure out your identity, man, that's half the battle.
I want to go back for a second when you were talking about Dougie P out there in Jacksonville. And I know, obviously, Trevor Lawrence got his extension, so he's gotten paid. But if he doesn't show enough progress, to put it in light terms, does Dougie P start thinking like, maybe I need to make a quarterback change? Maybe not permanently, but just make Trevor kind of think a little bit more?
Have you noticed a couple things, right? So who got paid this offseason? Trevor Lawrence got paid.
Mm-hmm.
Tua got paid.
Yep.
Dak Prescott got paid. Correct?
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Did Herbert get paid or Burrow get paid? I'd have to double check. But I'm sorry?
Burrow. I don't think Justin Herbert. I think it was the year before.
Okay. So have they played lights out football?
Nope.
No.
And let's not forget, Dak Prescott said, now that I got paid, it's time to go to the Super Bowl.
That's right. Now, Tua got hurt. Tua got hurt, and that's unfortunate. It happens, which was one of the reasons people were getting on me saying, you don't pay him. Trevor Lawrence is a talented quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is a talented quarterback. So last year, listen, if you go back to his rookie season, he threw a lot of picks. He got sacked. The game was very fast. They drafted a running back, Etienne, who got hurt when everyone said fix the offensive line. His second season, he threw for over 4,000 yards. I think he had 25 touchdowns and 9 picks. Last year, he came back, threw for pretty much the same yardage, pretty much the same amount of touchdowns, but he had more picks. They didn't utilize Ingram as much, okay? They didn't run the ball with success as much, and they blew games late, and it cost Caldwell his job. And I think that's Doug saving face with himself, because Doug Peterson realizes he's on the hot seat. Now, to answer your question, if Trevor Lawrence, if he goes 22 of 28 for 276 and 3 touchdowns tonight, and they win a game, you can make the case that that's a game that saved their season. And that's why I look at some of these desperate teams, 0-2. Ravens were 0-2. Cincinnati's 0-2. The Giants were 0-2. You've got to just figure out a way to get the one win. That's it. But if he struggles, are they going to bench him next week? I mean, who gives you if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, who gives you the best chance to win? Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones?
Ooh, good point. Very good point.
Right? And remember, too, he'd have to really stink up the joint. Like, really stink up the joint. I pulled up their schedule. I mean, they've got a brutal stretch. They lost by 3 to open up the season against Miami. He didn't crack 200 yards. They didn't run for 100. They lost by 3. I think they lost by 3. Let me double check. To Cleveland, they lost by 5. And that was probably Deshaun Watson's best game as a Brown. I think he had a couple touchdowns. But the offense only mustered a couple points, right? So you have to score more than 20 points in the NFL to win frigging games. You have to. I think they're going to let it rip tonight. I think they're going to have some opportunities. But if they lose tonight, they got to go down to Houston. Then they have Indianapolis and Chicago. They might be looking at a 1-5 start if they get a win against New England. But then they have Green Bay, Philly, Miami. That's Minnesota. That's a tough stretch for Jacksonville. Like if you're a Jags fan right now, save the season. Like go out and save the season, which means you got to win a game. You got to win a game. Nikki in South Jersey chiming in. Q, I can't believe you actually said that Barkley bailed out Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. And I think you made the analogy of Brian Westbrook to McNabb. Are you going to give McNabb any credit? You're going to continue to hate McNabb like you have for the last 20 years. Barkley's a great player, but is a team game. All right. Whatever. I mean, I was never the biggest McNabb fan, but I know that Westbrook bailed him out a lot of times. I mean, hell, I go back to that wild card game against Minnesota. It was a screen pass, and he took it 76 yards. And they won the game, right? Punt return against the Giants. They won the game. Out of the flat against 49ers. They won the game. Like, you're allowed to bail out your quarterback. You're allowed to bail out your quarterback. The quarterback's allowed to bail out the head coach. That's not me taking anything away from what Jalen Hurts has been able to do early on in his career. Jalen Hurts, if they win the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts is Super Bowl MVP, right? But he also had a big-time error in that game. He had the fumble that was returned for the touchdown. But he also played him back in the game. But I have to backtrack, and I'm not ready to walk through that door as much as I was when they were 10-1 and say Jalen Hurts, if he continues to play, forget about a top 10 quarterback. He's going to start to become that middle of the pack. And it's only because he's turning the ball over. Take it from a guy who's had quarterbacks who's turned the ball over. It's frustrating. You have to have the internal clock. And it's funny, Angel, you bring up Trevor Lawrence because there's some been grumblings, Trevor Lawrence not seeing the field as well, not making the right progressions. And that's a problem. That is a problem. Like, and again, when he does see the field and he does have time to throw, there's some accuracy issue. So, all right, 40 past the 5 o'clock hour, 20 to play with. We'll take up to 6. Quickie timeout. We'll come back on the other side.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
Hey, all right. Welcome back, everyone. Live. We have no idea what's going on with bumper music, intro. I don't know. Have we diagnosed the problem yet? Do we need to go old school, little Columbo? What do we need to do? Figure out.
It's only it works in the morning, works on my show, so I don't know why in the world it's not working on your end.
Play something right now. Let me hear if I hear. Go ahead.
Well, let's try an old one here.
How about my settings? Is it my settings?
Welcome back to Middays with Q.
Audio?
Here's Q.
Audio? No.
I mean, you can check your audio, but you figure normally the audio, so your audio input should be your whatever you use for your chat.
Hold on. Try now. Try now.
Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Call
or text the show at 727-858-6650.
Are you playing something?
Yeah, I was, and I paused it. On your audio, it should have, for your audio output, it should be whatever your main stereo is, like your, Apple speakers, whatever you want, whatever you use.
Yeah.
And then your input should be your microphone.
So I'm in audio right now.
Yeah.
Default. MacBook Pro speakers. Yeah. Okay. Snowball mic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we're good. Check.
Yeah.
And then audio. I don't know.
Well, let's see if I hit the doorbell, see if you can hear it.
Oh. Wait, one more time.
Nothing?
No, in and out. That's what she said. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, obviously it has an effect the eyeballs today. Unbelievable eyeballs on them. Unbelievable eyeballs on a Monday.
A ton.
It's all about the eyeballs. Hey, by the way, if you are tuning in on Rumble, we greatly appreciate that, as well as HSRN. Let me see. So if I go to Rumble right now, am I going SR 1029 or
Holy
Broad
crap.
Street?
Might have been under Broad Street South. I can't remember because I set up such a long time ago. But I know it might be under Sports Radio, SR 1029, I believe. I believe.
You believe. Yeah, I believe you're full of shit. SR 1029. Let me see.
That's not true.
Let me see. I think it's 1029. Franny in Delaware chime in Q. Wonderful to hear you. Back on the air. You partnered back up with Omar. I remember me chiming in, talking about my Yankees and my Ravens. Nothing has changed. Ravens got to win, and the Yankees are making a march to the ALCS. So that's franchise. That's a guy that used to call up 1,000 times when I was on 1290 The Ticket. He's a diehard Ravens fan and always had a conspiracy theory. He's also a Eagles fan. He's also a Yankees fan. We can put to bed pretty much AL MVP and NL MVP. I mean, it's done. And how about this? How about the Mets taking 3 out of 4 from the Sillies?
Yep. Man, listen, it was funny because I had Fuji on last week, and I said to him, "Hey, by the way, do you believe the Phillies are going to win a division?" And he was very emphatic, yes.
Yeah.
And then I asked him the same question this morning. I'm like, "Hey, why do you think I asked you about that question last week when it came to the Phillies?" Because this is number one. They still the only team right now, and I believe still has the best record in baseball. Which I don't like that, because every team that's ever had the best record in baseball going into October has never surpassed the first round. It's just been a fact for the longest. But this team here, at the rate that they're going, no. I hope they do well, but if they're struggling going into the postseason, that's usually not a good sign for the postseason.
Look, the Mets are a very desperate team, and the Mets are right there in the NL wildcard. The Mets have played some really, I mean, I'm a Yankees fan. The Mets have played some pretty inspiring baseball. I mean, they've gone from like 33% to 44%, now 76%. What is it? They won 7 out of their last 10. So they're right there in the wild card, man. I mean, they're what are they tied with? They're in the second spot. San Diego, Arizona. You don't want to see Arizona. That's the team you don't want to see. If you're the Phillies, you do not want to see Arizona get in the playoffs because what we saw last year. And the problem is sometimes these teams that are so hit or miss when it comes to their offense, like if they're reliant on the long ball as opposed to manufacture runs and small ball,
kind
of like the Yankees when it comes to feast or famine. Once their bats go south, pretty much it, man. Your series is over. They're going to win the NL. They're going to win the NL. It's just, do you want to see the Mets? Do you want to see Arizona? Do you want to see San Diego? Those are pretty good teams, man. Those are some decent teams. I mean, San Diego seems like they turned a corner. Obviously, they spend money year in and year out. AL, I think, is going to be a little different story, man. Baltimore has spit the bit. The Orioles had the AL East locked up, and when you drop like 16 out of 20, 16 out of 22, pretty much to close out the month, 7 out of 10 to close out the month, you're in trouble. Like, that's your example of a team that's struggling. Like, Baltimore is just limping. Conversely, the Yankees are playing their best baseball right now of the season. Now, granted, they swept a bad A's team. They took 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. They took 3 out of 4 against the Red Sox. But you look at their lineup from top to bottom, it's power personified. And now here's a question for you. Would you rather have Shohei and Mookie or Juan Soto and Aaron Judge for a 1-2 punch?
Nah, Mookie and Shohei.
Such a Yankee hater. That's purely a New York hater. Aaron Judge, 55 home runs. Soto, 44. Torres has 15. Volpe has 12. Stanton, forget about Stanton. He's almost an afterthought. He has 26. It's going to come down to pitching like it always does. It's just baseball, man. It's always going to come down to pitching, period. And if they can get some solid starts from Garrett Cole, that's great. Cortez is starting to win some ball games. Rodon, you know what you get from him. Stroman's a veteran guy. Luis Gil pitched pretty well. I think 15, 16 wins. They'll be all right. I'm very excited for playoff baseball. All right. Monday Night Football, we got the double dip tonight. As I mentioned, you got a very desperate team in Jacksonville on the road getting 5 versus Buffalo. I know we've kind of killed Trevor Lawrence. I know you had a couple questions with Trevor Lawrence and some comments and thoughts. I think, thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. It does fly by. I think Trevor Lawrence has a decent game tonight. And also look for Jacksonville to try to run the friggin' football.
Yeah.
Right? Allen shines in Monday night, but the Jags, I think they keep it close. I don't like them in this game. I think they keep it close. I would not bet this game. I mentioned if you're going to bookend it, tease it down Buffalo. But I do believe the second game, I think Cincinnati is going to absolutely roll Washington. Cincinnati is such a desperate team, man. You can ill afford to go 0-3. Now, they've got the Panthers next week. So if they win tonight, they even up their record at 2-2, and then they have the Ravens, and that's where they want to be. So I do like Cincinnati tonight. So, all right, I know we got to start wrapping it up. Yes.
Quick weather note for those who listen in from 4 to 6 p.m., the Driveway Q, because there is a pending hurricane coming up from the south into the Gulf that's going Wednesday into Thursday. As I mentioned in the 2 shows this morning, I'll keep everyone posted on the socials because it could be a good probability we will not be on air Wednesday and Thursday, depending on what this hurricane does. So I will keep everyone posted.
When's that weather again?
Wednesday into Thursday, we're supposed to. So basically, it's churning up. Normally, we get it from this time of the year. Always comes from the Ivory Coast of Africa and comes across the Atlantic and then whips around. And either hits the East Coast or the West Coast here. But this one, like the one earlier, which was Debbie, also came down from South America, like just south of Cuba at the finer tip of South America. And then once it goes into the Gulf, it can go any which way because the waters are still very warm.
Do we have a name for this tropical storm?
I don't believe there's one as of yet. I know the last one was the Invest 95L from last I checked, but because it hasn't formed into a hurricane yet.
Whoa. What are you, eye on TV with the Doppler?
That's right. Yeah, I got it right outside the house here. I paid this guy to stand out there. He tells me the weather.
Let me check this. Hold on. There's got to be a friggin' name. Future Tropical Storm Helen. There you go.
Okay, but it's not here yet. So therefore, that's why I didn't say.
You still name it. I asked you if you have a name.
Yeah, I don't.
No. This hurricane or potential is named Helen. Do you ever notice all these hurricanes that just blow hot air? They're all named.
Yep.
After I'm about to get hammered. I don't know if I want to go there.
Karen?
Well, right? Irma?
Just saying.
Ida?
Just saying.
Hurricane expected to lash Florida as a Category 3.
Yep, with the potential, they said it could get up to a 4, which we hope not because they're on here. Listen, all it takes is literally 85-mile-an-hour winds to create havoc on the Gulf Coast.
Well, I mean, I think 85, that's scary.
Yeah. But you're talking about now 3, which, I mean, the winds itself, I mean, that's the big one because you'll get it. When it comes, it'll come in big waves. And so you get the big howling. You'll get, you'll hear everything going on. And then it's a sit and wait game to see what happens. I don't sleep when it comes to this stuff. My wife, God bless, she can sleep right through it. I can't. Once I know there's a certain thing coming, it's like, oh, fudge, here we go. Just wait and see. Wait and see game sucks.
All right, we'll hatch it down, will you? We'll keep an eye on what's going on a Wednesday for a potential hiatus on a Wednesday, Thursday edition of The Drive. Hey, excellent stuff, by the way. Appreciate everyone tuning in on Rumble and Corch, the debut on HSR. And always want to remind everyone, this is our flagship home, Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, Coastal Sports Network. Do not forget to check out the website, sr1029thegame.com. Download the app, download the friggin' app. We've been getting a boatload of traffic. You guys have been watching from Florida, from Jersey, from PA to Boston to Maryland, out west, all over. You guys have been fantastic. I'm telling you, we are just blown away by the eyeballs and the traction we're getting on all of our live programming. Monday to Friday, start the day off with Pete Shepard. Pete Shepard Show 7 to 10, Martinez and Company. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 12. Angel's been killing it during the early morning, late morning show, I should say, from 10 to 12. And then myself, The Drive with Q, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 4 to 6. We are powered and brought to you by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. We know Labor Day is in the books. Swing on by 7 days a week. Check them out online, playitagainsports.com. They'll give you some fair cash for your trade in used and sports equipment and more. Also, Acorn to Oak for all your digital marketing outsourcing needs. And Zen Auto Concepts over in Stewart, Florida. Of course, our official sponsor of our Drive of the Game this week. We gave it to Jalen Hurts, Goddard, Saquon, and the Philadelphia Eagles, who got a much-needed win on the road. Zen Auto Concepts, paint protection, Clear Broad Detailing, 772-46850. You can go online, and again, they are the leader in high-end detailing and paint protection, specializing in SunTech XPEL paint protection, high-end detailing, voted number 1 detailing shop in Florida. The eyeballs were absolutely crazy. The engagement on Facebook, on X, and you guys commenting on the show live. You guys are fantastic. You got Lloyd Vance's Insider Football coming up tonight, 8 o'clock. Lloyd's time, 8:05 on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. And then we'll do a little back your play. We'll put that up on the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q. But fantastic Monday in the books. Hopefully, we will be back in the saddle on Wednesday. Who knows? Maybe we do a abbreviated edition on a Tuesday. We don't know. We go through our our CEO, the brains behind the operation. And of course, Angel Martinez producing the show, keeping us on the air. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Pennant race is heating up. You can follow us on X as well. We always want to encourage you guys to do that too before we get out of here. Pretty easy at CSN Florida. Again, that's pretty easy. CSN Florida. Do not forget to follow Angel on X as well at SR1029 The Game, which is a very easy follow. Myself, Rich Q and Q, Pete Shepard, which again, very easy at Pete Shep 326, Lloyd Mance at Lloyd Mance, Jonathan Marshall, John_Marshall as well. But if you go to the website right now, you'll see all the Twitter feeds, the handles, and the bios. All right, everyone enjoy Monday Night Football, the double dip. We will hopefully back in the saddle on Wednesday. Who knows, maybe tomorrow for a shortened edition of The Drive. For Angel Martinez, I'm Rich Quinones. Have a wonderful Sports Monday. Enjoy the games. We will talk to you very soon. As always, keep it locked into Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. This has been The Drive with Q. As always, be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.